Call to order. The City of Annapolis Public Safety Standing Committee meeting will now come to order. It is 4:05 p.m. on Monday, February 1st, 2021. Roll call. Alderman Payon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon, sir. Alderman Gay.
Here.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Next on to the, good afternoon. On to the approval of the agenda. We're going to make a few changes, add a couple things. With our public safety spotlight for fire, we have a slide, 2 slides, and I have 8 synopses of letters I want to read. We also have the adequate public facilities piece of legislation O-1919 to add in transportation. As I indicated earlier, we gave it an unfavorable. We're looking to start all over again with that. And also Alderwoman Tierney is here with us today on to bring to our attention briefly a citizen's public safety concern. No action will be taken. So approval of the agenda with these amendments. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
A second?
I'm seconding it. Yeah. Is there legislation, the drug-free loitering zones legislation?
That's already on. I was just adding the ones that aren't on.
Okay.
That's already on the agenda.
Second, definitely. And can I get the 2 pieces of legislation?
Our city council associate may be able to help you with that. Okay.
There's only
all in favor?
There's only one though, right?
Adequate public facilities, yeah.
Right.
And I'm glad Alderwoman Tierney is here since she is the chair of Transportation Committee. I'm on that committee too. So if there's any questions, we certainly can answer those. All in favor of the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Aye. No opposed. We'll move on to business and miscellaneous. Approval of the minutes, PS 12-21-20, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Aye. No opposed. All right. Next we have on the agenda is public safety spotlight for police, fire, the Office of Emergency Management. And did you know our Office of Emergency Management and written reports and comments year-to-date overdose summary, police, fire, and the Office of Emergency Management. We can start with fire since they do have the slides today, and I will read the few letters from July until the present. It's my understanding that police do not have a spotlight, or did you know today? Not sure. We'll get to Office of Emergency Management. So Chief Romali, good to have you here. Thank you so much. And Deputy Chief Spriggs.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So for our spotlight, in 2015, in conjunction with the Public Safety Committee, the Fire Department and the Public Safety Committee came together and wanted to recognize a member of our department and give an award basically for outstanding performance over the last year. So after conferring with Public Safety, which would be you all and your predecessors on the committee prior to you, we came up with a award, and the award is the Chief Charles Steele Award. And it's named after Chief Steele, who was the first career fire chief in the Annapolis Fire Department. His vision set forth the actual views and the direction of the department, and we've expanded upon that throughout the year. So the Chief Steele Award actually comes from the memberships of the department and their supervisors. They're actually nominated for some outstanding performance throughout the year. So the 2020 Chief Steele Award was presented in December to Captain Aaron Edwards. And I just felt it was appropriate to put a picture to face to the name because he can't be here today. But his efforts over the last year and prior years have really stood out. He's the captain of our Emergency Medical Services Division, and he is deep involved in our projects and a program such as the Safe Station program, where somebody needing addiction prevention or help assistance, whether it's alcohol, narcotics, where they can come to the fire station, and we do a intake starting here when mobile crisis will come out and hopefully help them place them into the proper treatment facilities. So he's heavily involved in that initiative. Our Your Life Matters program, which is hands-only CPR. It also involves our Narcan Leave Behind program. He's out here with community organizations all the time, trying to address our issues with the pandemic. As you know, over the last year, we've had an increase in fatal overdoses. With the pandemic, it's hard to get out to the public, especially with not being able to have community outreach programs where you can have large amounts of people in one spot. So he continues to push that program forward. He's worked closely with Chief Simmons and Emergency Management to help fund those programs, along with the mayor's office and other community groups that are out there trying to help with the addiction. He is part of the cities and the county's opioid intervention team. He's a member of that. And we just, as a department, are very proud of Captain Edwards and appreciate all his efforts. And we're very proud to give him this award this year. So we wanted to make you aware of that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We applaud Captain Edwards for all the work that he's done. He's done an extraordinary job. I know that on a personal nature. And he's also been part of our Equal Protection Task Force when we were having our regular meetings the past 2 to 3 years. So he's been an instrumental part of that as well. So we just like to thank him, congratulate him. We're very honored to have him receive the Charles H. Steele Award this year. Any questions of Chief Romali? Yes, Alderman Gay?
Yeah, definitely. I just wanted to add that I have good memories of him in Eastport Terrace and Harbor House handing out the like the little dummies to do the heartbeat compression. And it was so exciting. The kids were excited to learn something new and to be able to take that home. And so, you know, just being in the community and those moments are significant and impact our community in a special way. So he's definitely worthy of that award.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alderman Gay. Any other comments about Captain Edwards? We're so very proud to have him and blessed to have him with our city. Now I'm going to read some letters that Ms. Conklin has sent to me between July 1st and September. I'm sure there are more in my mailbox at City Hall, but these are the ones that I have. Today, I hereby formally recognize the men and women of our Annapolis Fire Department who have been recognized in writing or by phone for their outstanding service to our city under the administration and leadership of our Mayor, Gavin Buckley. Also, these men and women and organizations who we have recognized for their service to our Annapolis community. Number one, note from a resident thanking the AFD for the beautiful flowers in remembrance of their spouse. Number two, letter dated July 13th, 2020 from retired AFD Captain Robert Daywalt for the AFD's very active and very visible participation in the homegoing services for retired Battalion Chief Charles R. Dickey Clark. Number three, letter dated July 16th, 2020 from Jeannie for the AFD's very active and very visible participation in the homegoing services for her dad, AFD retired Fire Chief Charles H. Steele, for whom that award that Captain Edwards has received today. Number four, letter dated August 10, 2020 from a resident regarding the operations and professionalism regarding an event in their community which occurred in August 2020. Number five, letter dated August 12, 2020 from a resident complimenting Chief Romali and his team for always keeping our community safe. Number six, letter dated September 4th, 2020 from an Anne Arundel County Fire Department Chief Tricia Wolford and Assistant Fire Chief Larry Schultz complimenting Chief Morris and the crew from Truck 36 for their help regarding an incident that occurred on September 3rd, 2020. Number seven, letter which appeared in the Capitol newspaper on September 8, 2020 from an Edgewater resident complimenting AFD's Eastport Truck and Crew 36 for their assistance as their community was struck by a tornado on September 3rd, 2020. Letter dated September 21st, 2020 from the State of Maryland Office of the Comptroller, Field Enforcement Division, overwhelmingly thanking, among others, AFD Chief Romali and his department for their professionalism as a result of the tragic death resulting from a horrific automobile crash of retired AFD Patrick Grogan, who had been working as a compliance inspector with the controller's office. The AFD was among many agencies who greatly assisted with bringing his body from the medical examiner's office to the funeral home, displaying great respect and honor, as well as participating in a flawless escort for the homegoing and interment services. And number 9, letter from the Wally H. Bates Middle School principal, Miss Katie Hicks, thanking, quote, Susan, the Annapolis Fire Department, and the Annapolis Police Foundation, unquote, for their very generous donations of backpacks. Thank you so much for this opportunity to highlight and spotlight what our public safety team is doing. At this time, we have our Office of Emergency Management here, and I see Deputy Director David Mandel. Good afternoon, Deputy Director.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, perfect. Madam Chair and council members, good afternoon. Dave Mandel on behalf of the City of Annapolis Office of Emergency Management. In terms of the spotlight to report for the Office of Emergency Management this month, I'd like to talk about the theme of the day for our office today is mitigation. So it is obviously well known that we work pretty tirelessly with regard to snow, as we've seen this weekend, and potential marches downtown, as we've seen in the last month, related to response and planning and coordination. But an additional thing we do that often flies under the radar is our mitigation program, specifically with regard to flooding, given all the coastal flooding that we experience here in Annapolis. Now, last month, we signed the contract for a new grant and a new plan to be drafted with a contractor that we've used in the past. It's the Flood Mitigation Plan to be funded by the Flood Mitigation Assistance Grant Program. Now, this is a good example of, in addition to the flooding response that we engage in the coordination with police and public works and fire and transportation and all that entails, OEM often quietly does the planning groundwork in coordination that goes with that to try to mitigate future instances of flooding. In 2018, we had the most recent renewal of the City of Annapolis Hazard Mitigation Plan, and one project that was identified as a mitigation action is the Flood Mitigation Plan, which focuses specifically on flooding, obviously, and once completed, will identify cost-effective flood mitigation actions that will continue to mitigate flood-prone properties and other situations related to flooding in the City of Annapolis. And as I mentioned, after the Hazard Mitigation Plan was adopted, we applied for a grant for the Flood Mitigation Plan, which we received, and we've started our planning work with that Flood Mitigation Plan. So that'll probably take a year to a year and a half, and we look forward to presenting that to the council as it's developed.
Thank you so very much, Deputy Director Mandel. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Is that going to be
Seeing none? Oh, go ahead, Alderman Gay. Mm-hmm.
Is that going to be a work session?
You know what? We have not contemplated that yet. I could certainly see that. We've just started, and we're a year and a half out. So we've had some initial meetings about what the plan is going to look like and the components and public outreach. So I can't commit to you today the format of how we're going to inform the council, but I guarantee you we will certainly look for your comments and obviously your approval once that plan is further along.
Thank you, and thanks for the COVID work as well that you guys do.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Is that anything else from the Office of Emergency Management, Deputy Director?
I do have a did you know, but I can wait until we get into that section.
No, we're for sake of efficiency, we've been now doing it by departments rather than by the subject matter. So when you have both, certainly you can do both at the same time.
Okay. So did you know, again, our theme is mitigation for today. Did you know that the Office of Emergency Management has been quietly supporting the effort to implement the City Dock Action Committee consensus plan. And what I'm referring to is the large, plan with the 92 stakeholders you may be familiar with regarding the revitalization of City Dock. That was done within the last year or so, I think March off the top of my head. It's a fantastic plan. The Office of Emergency Management was not involved in the plan itself, but became involved when they started looking for funding to implement the plan and design the project that will be constructed eventually on the north side of City Dock. Somebody heard that we've done some pretty extensive FEMA applications here at the Office of Emergency Management. So we joined the effort, and just last week I submitted on behalf of the city manager a grant application to the U.S. Commerce Department Economic Development Administration for some CARES Act funding. And we applied for $1.75 million with an application that totaled about 400 pages. So it was really, really a big effort coordinated by the Office of Emergency Management, but involving Public Works and Planning and Zoning and a bunch of other individuals and offices. So that was kind of a big project, and we anxiously await to hear the decision from the U.S. Commerce Department on that point. But we wanted to let you know that on behalf of Director Simmons, because it's been a very quiet activity in just terms of supporting that effort to try to get funding, as we tend to be able to do here in the office. So hopefully we'll have a good result for that application.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Can you give us a few of your partners on that grant application?
Sure. Sally Nash and her team at Planning and Zoning, Lisa, including, by the way, the Economic Development team, because you need to show the justification given that's a Commerce Department grant. So Stephen Rice and Hope Stewart, Public Works, Director Johnson, Lisa Greco have been really closely involved. Lynn Farrow has been coordinating with the city manager, obviously. Eileen Fogarty. We've been working with the outside consultants, Alignment Strategies, for some of their advice. Sean Wampler gave us some mapping. This is all off the top of my head. I didn't have a list ready, but
no, that's fine.
But pretty much, this was one of those grant applications where they asked for so much information across so many disciplines that OEM took a look at the application and tried to figure out how to best answer the questions with the expertise that we have. And we have tremendous expertise in the city. You just have to think when you start going through things, all right, who can answer this question? Who can answer that question? And before you know it, we started coordinating the work across every department that needed to be involved. And they quietly, as we do as civil servants, quietly went to work and came up with a really fantastic grant application.
Great. Great team effort, it sounds like it. Thank you so much for bringing that to us. Alderman Gay, you have a question.
Yeah, thanks. I had one quick thing. I think the fire department, did y'all have a second slide?
Yeah, I was going to ask for my go back there because we moved on before we actually did the did you know part of it.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, no, I thought so. I just had it. But for really quickly with OEM, two points. The first is that applying for a grant like this, I wish that we could replicate the grant skills that you guys seem to continue to tap into across the city government. And what is it? I mean, is it I can't be the extra time because you're battling COVID-19. You just said you are also helping out with snow repair or snow routes, and you're doing the marches and stuff. So how are you managing this grant time is my first question. And then secondly, what is the plan with the $1.4 million as it relates to COVID funding? How would that tie into a city dock plan?
Okay. So first, in terms of the time, it has been a challenging year. I don't have to tell anybody on this call, on this meeting about that. When you take a full-time responsibility as an office and add COVID and then add, an unexpected grant application in a fairly short time frame. And the short answer is when it comes to public safety, we just get it done. We just get it done. Sometimes we work extra. Sometimes we work after other folks have gone to bed. depending on the deadlines and the circumstances at hand. But that's kind of our mantra: is we just have to get it done when we have to get it done.
So who's managing though? Like, so you said it was 400 pages. Is that a group effort amongst the entire public safety team here, or, you know, is that just out of this office?
Well, so I coordinated the assembly of the package, if you want to call it that, and the 400 pages includes all the components that needed to be addressed and included to be eligible for the grant. And some of it was an environmental narrative, for example, that went to Sally Nash, you know, in planning and zoning, and Lisa Greco in public works, Mike Johnson. Some of it was an economic justification, which obviously went to Stephen Rice and his team. So, you know, and then obviously there's the mapping and all this other stuff that had to go with it. So based on whatever was called for, we made the best argument we could, which is obviously economic justification, but also flooding protection. Those are the big two arguments that we made for City Dock. And we put all the pieces together to fulfill that need. It's sort of like my sort of opinion on it is it's kind of like the bazooka. I call it kind of a bazooka approach, in that if a grantor agency wants to, you know, they open up an application with requirements, you know, needed to be considered for eligibility, we have to hit that out of the park. We have to hit it with a bazooka. Leave no doubt that there's any question that the city of Annapolis, A, is eligible, and B, is deserving. So we try to answer every possible question, every possible detail that can build our case, especially with a project and a cost of this magnitude. We are going to go the extra mile and leave no stone unturned to make that case for the city.
That's really good. And so what is the plan to you, or how do you tie in COVID to that project? So
it's an economic, because it's the Commerce Department, obviously, and it's CARES Act funding, as you mentioned, Alderman, there is a COVID nexus to these funds. And what we did was working with Stephen Rice and Hope Stewart, talking to some of the businesses like Watermark, for example, and Paul Jacobs of the boat shows. We all know the flooding, you know, problems that they've had. Looking at some of the data, how many businesses have closed due to COVID? How many customers do we think this would bring, this project, to the city of Annapolis? And we used some industry statistics and basically came up with figures, estimated, obviously, figures in terms of the jobs retained, the jobs created, and the private investment expected if this project were to be funded. Obviously, not just the design project, but the eventual construction of the project to be funded. And it came out to a big number, worth well beyond, obviously, what the project would cost. So that was the idea.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Payon, do you have any questions? Okay, you're on mute, but that's fine. Well, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. And like I've always said, we've been doing this now for 2 years. Spotlight is basically, could be a human being. And did you know is a thing, but it doesn't matter. Because our public safety team has a lot of public interface, we want people to know exactly some of the things that we're doing. I mean, people do know in a general sense, but we like to highlight some things that are going on that our folks in the public and our residents may not know about. So that's the purpose of this, and it has worked out very well. We've used it for many different opportunities to give information. But thank you so very much. We're going to go back to the fire department, Chief Romali. I apologize for skipping over you, but we're back.
We're good. So for our Did You Know, we wanted to go back and talk about our fireboat. So the department operates a 2006 Metalcraft Firestorm 36-foot fireboat. Last year, the city council, was able to assist us with our fire department budget and do some upgrades to the boat. So the boat's about 15 years old, and anybody that owns a boat knows that seawaters can damage a boat. And this is an aluminum boat, which was getting a lot of corrosion on it. And we want to make sure that it lasts for some time. So last year's budget, not our current budget, it was actually the year prior, we were successful in, with your help, getting money set aside to put some money back into the boat. So we went to some local vendors and put it out on bid. By the time it was said and done, it actually, the lowest bid was the people that actually made the boat, and that was Metalcraft, which is located in Canada. So the boat was loaded up onto a tractor trailer and sent out of here about a year ago. It took a little longer than we had anticipated. COVID was part of the reason for it. The boat actually got quarantined at the border for a little while. So it did take longer. And I do need to make sure that everybody's aware that the police department, Chief Jackson in particular, with the help of Detective Truitt and Detective Reed, stepped up and assisted us while our boat was gone. We actually shared the police department's boat for the last year. Over that year, we've still continued to respond to emergencies on the waterway. So using the police department's boat, we responded to over 85 calls in the city and county waterways. So it's there. But after a long due 1 year, the boat's back. As you see, the picture on the left is when it was, that's the shape it was in when it left. And the picture on the right was taken just last week by an individual who works for the police department, happened to be out and saw the boat on the water. And it's a pretty good picture she took. But after about a year's work and some money, that's what the boat looks like today. The boat is operating functionally. It is back in its slip near the Eastport Bridge. So if you go over the bridge, you'll see it sitting there. And we're very proud to have it back in service. And we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware that it is back. And with your help, we hope to get at least another 10 to 15 years out of the boat. So that boat today would cost the city $1 million to replace it. So we put some money into it. We plan on getting another 10 to 15 years out of it and continue to operate. So we thank you and just wanted to make you aware of it. Chief Spriggs, do you have anything?
No, sir. I think you covered it all. We're glad to have it back. Some improvements were made to it. For instance, an item called a davit was installed, which will assist our firefighters in preventing back injuries and lifting victims out of the water. So that's just one of the improvements that we made in an effort to better serve the citizens. So, and some wireless headsets were added so the crew members can continue to communicate with each other while they're walking around the boat and also communicate with each other if they have to board another vessel. So some significant improvements were made to the boat. Some safety features were added, and we're very proud of it. So.
Thank you so much. And just give us I know you said you rescue people out of the water, but give us a couple of other examples on the use of the fireboat.
Well, the fireboat's a fireboat. It responds to boat fires on the waterway. As you know, in the city of Annapolis, we have several miles worth of shoreline, and we have millions of dollars worth of property in boats and yachts that are there. So it is there for firefighting capabilities. It'll actually go out if the Coast Guard gets a flare sighting that they have concerns on. The fire department will assist them. We work very closely hand in hand with the county. There are three main fireboats in Anne Arundel County, and that's our Annapolis fireboat, the fireboat that comes out of Sandy Point, and the fireboat that comes out of Shady Side. So that's the three primary boats for all the waterways in the city of Annapolis. And when you have an incident on the water, it's not like we have a house fire where we can continue to bring fire apparatus and people to the scene. When it's out on the water, it's limited. So getting people back and forth there is problems for us. So it's the crews on the fireboat that do it a lot. It can also be used for house fires on shorelines for non-hydrant areas, say like the Annapolis Neck Peninsula is a case where there are no fire hydrants down there. If there's an area where you can get to a pier, the boat can flow over 1,500 gallons a minute worth of water through the fire pumps, and it can be used where we can hook hose lines. We can come right up to a pier, hook hose lines up to the boat. That can be used just drafting water out of the ponds or the creek or actually the bay if needed. So it's areas like that, but it's been on multiple auto accidents, vessel accidents. We have been out there. The dive team uses it for recovery operations and dive operations. So it's very effective. The boat we have is a nice sized boat. It is a great platform to work off of. while we appreciate the help of the police department, I can guarantee that our crews are very happy to have their platform back for the operations we do, which is a totally different operation than the law enforcement operation. So the boats are made for two different types of incidents, but we were lucky. We were lucky that the police department was able to allow us to use their boat over the last year, and it worked well. So we never skipped a beat. We did not have firefighting capabilities, but we were able to overcome that, and the county knew that, so we would bring additional resources in. And the boat will respond outside of the Anne Arundel County area. If Queen Anne's County needs a fire boat, we'll send it to Queen Anne's County anywhere it's needed, and also the other way around. Queen Anne sends her boats here a lot. Unfortunately, we have issues at the Bay Bridge at times where we have both city, county, and Queen Anne's County boats there. So it's very effective.
Right. Mutual aid and being a capital city and on a peninsula, there's certain things that we need that maybe other cities of our size of 39,000 would not necessarily need, but we're always glad that you bring these things to our attention. Sometimes we forget what we really do need, and when they come in handy, especially when it happens to you or us. So we're very grateful, and we're very grateful for the partnership that fire and police have when they can work together. We're very appreciative of that as well. I see we have another question from Alderwoman Tierney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was the fireboat used on that horrific Christmas fire down at the Neck, the mansion?
So the day of the mansion fire, our fireboat was not on the scene of that. I believe they may have used a county boat at that time, but our units were, because we were the closest land-based units, our units were there on their land apparatus. So the fireboat is like our hazmat team and is like our bomb squad. It doesn't have individuals just assigned to that. Those individuals come from our everyday daily operations. So the fireboat's run out of the Eastport Fire Station, and it's run by the crew primarily assigned to the engine company there. So that fire engine crew is the fireboat crew. If the engine company's out and we have an operator on the ladder truck, then the ladder truck crew will take the boat out. But we don't have a crew of 3 assigned to the fireboat that they're just waiting to go on a Marine call. Sort of like our hazmat team. They're not just waiting around for a hazmat response, or bomb squad too, for that matter. They are all collateral duty, so we pull people from other aspects to take those specialty units when they need it.
Thank you. Speaking of which.
Yeah, we hear them.
Okay.
There you are.
Alderman Gay.
Thanks. Yeah, he kind of answered one of my questions. It was, is there a separate team? But the Eastport team is handling that. And so you mentioned that last year you got out on 85 calls. Of those 85 calls, how many were responding to, like personal incidents where it was, because of, I guess it was just, a personally owned boat, or there was a malfunction with the boat or something like that? Of those, how many of those calls were actually on water, and how many were responding to a land incident?
So the land incidents that the fireboat goes on would be small. If it was 10, that would be a lot there for water supply operations. So everything else would have been on the water. Typically, it's for a boating accident, that's person in the water, that type of aspect. Actually, injuries out on boats, we'll go get the people off the boat, bring them to shore, transport them to a medical unit on there. We respond to boats taking on water, but we get there, mitigate the situation until a private tow boat can get there. So we don't actually tow those boats in. That's up for a private company, but we have to make sure that all life safety aspects are taken care of prior to that. And we will start dewatering their boat if necessary until somebody can get to them.
I was towed back once. It was a hilarious story. But is there a fee for the boat leaving? Because, if when the ambulance is called, there's a fee to the insurance company or the fee to the individual who calls the ambulance. In this scenario, if there's a fire on land at Eastport Terrace or Harbor House, I'm just using that as an example, if there's a fire there and there's a fire in the boat and Eastport is, what do we do? There has to be some sort of fee placed on that. You're taking away the fire department from, that is splitting the crew thin. I think that the money could be used to maybe, supplement staff or something like that. Is there a fee on that?
The only fees associated to the fire department are EMS billing, which is in the city code, which is allowed for because it's paid for by the insurance companies. And then just fees based on permit services for a fire marshal's office. Everything else is covered by taxes. So if your house catches fire, there's not a fee attached to that. That's our typical, and the waterway is the same way. Currently, there are no fees associated with that.
That's interesting. I wonder if that's something that we could, look into. Because I think that, or at least to maintain, for the maintenance of the boat, how much is it annually to, take care of the boat?
I'd have to get back to you on that with the fleet manager to determine the actual maintenance cost. The maintenance cost on the boat is very similar to the maintenance cost on a fire engine or a medic unit.
Yeah,
so it's all relative when it comes to those aspects.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
So I can assure you that basically that crew takes the first call first, but if 2 calls came in at the same time, the crew has to make the decision which is the higher priority, whether they take the fire engine or they take the boat to the boat call. But there are very limited marine assets out there, so if we can get the boat on the water, we'll do that. And currently, we have that second crew at Eastport for the ladder truck that can get out the other pieces if necessary.
Okay, thank you, Chief, and your team. Any other questions or any comments, any more to offer from our fire department? Okay, seeing none, thank you all so very, very much. We always appreciate you coming with information, many things we did not know. But anyway, I see we have our APD training administrator manager, Ms. Rhonda McCoy. I'm not going to put her on the spot, but if there's something that she's thought of in the meantime to add to our spotlight, or did you know, she's certainly welcome to do that right now. Ms. McCoy.
I gotta unmute. Just as Alderman Gay said, we are here trying to look for opportunities for grants as well. In the next coming weeks, you will be seeing us with a lot of Did You Knows. We are looking forward to possibly presenting or filing for some grants to increase our reentry efforts. We see that there are a lot of, there's at least 2 or 3 grants there that we can enhance our efforts there by with partnerships with the county. And since the county has come more closely aligned with our mores and values, and their officers are now getting body-worn cameras, we see that some of the partnerships could be a little bit more fruitful with the county and becoming a force multiplier, because we're both short in personnel. So we're looking forward in the next coming weeks to coming in and presenting as Deputy Mandel has with some of those larger grant offerings, and to make our city a little better.
Great. Sounds very encouraging. And now that we have another county police chief, I'm sure those relationships and bonds can certainly be strengthened. But that's very encouraging to know. Certainly bring to us Did You Know? I mean, you brought us right now today, but even something even more in depth, and we really appreciate that. Alderman Gay.
Thank you. And thank you. Deputy McCoy is the official title?
I think the chief is trying to come up with a title for me. When I know, I will definitely share it with you all.
But yeah, I don't want to just be disrespectful and call you Miss McCoy,
You can. It doesn't.
Thank you, though, for being here. I feel like we haven't seen each other in a while. And so I just had 2 quick questions. One is with I noticed the other day, I was like, just thinking, and again, knock on wood, I was like, thank God we've had there hasn't been as much violent crime as we've seen in the summer, how the trend goes. But so my question was, and I guess at our March meeting, if you could present, or a member of the team could present, on maybe some plans that we have as we move into the warmer months. I know you were saying you guys are working on some things. And then secondly, which was important to me, domestic violence, because if it's not happening outside, it's happening inside. And that's what we're, seeing a lot of. And so what I've been doing is if I've been reached out to, I, work with Melissa or Paul on the issue. But I know that there had been works for a group internally in the department. And could you just maybe even at our next meeting, just go into a little depth about that, and maybe if there's a hotline or something that we could set up just so that communication can become a little more efficient for situations like that.
You are going to be happy to know, if you look and research my background, domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse are near and dear to my heart. They're investigations that I worked on very, very extensively. So one of the grants that we are currently looking at, it's about a $500,000 grant that will expand our training for our officers and getting some NGOs for domestic violence and sexual assault. Unfortunately, because of the requirements of the grant, we would have to partner with the county because you have to have a population of over 400,000. But we're looking very, very forward to talking with Chief Awad and laying down what our plan is, and hopefully she agrees, and so that we can expand our efforts with domestic violence and sexual assault. And I think that one of the things that I did tell the chief is that we do want to have some meetings with you all. I will be coming around and meeting with you all individually to tell you what our plans are. So when we do get the public safety meeting and approval, you all will be more than aware of what we're putting on the table, and that you will see our plans and what they are and how that links in with the county.
Thank you so much. And just to kind of add a tidbit to that, when I was in Baltimore City, I prosecuted my last 8 years physical child abuse and companion domestic violence cases. So I'm well aware of the impact that they have. In fact, I've been talking to Detective, now acting Chief Branford for over the past several months, because every day I look at that report to see what's coming up, and we've talked about it, and it's my understanding that that's definitely in the works. They're putting something together for that, because that's what I've been really tuned into. Like you said, if it's not happening on the outside, it's oftentimes happening on the inside. And so I'm very sensitive to those cases as well. So anyway, thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Anyone else have any questions of our administrator, Ms. McCoy, or anything else for this segment of Did You Know or Spotlight? Okay. All right. Thank you all so very, 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 very much. We're always here to learn, and anything that we can do to assist you, please let us know. We look for continuing some great things. Annapolis City has a great public safety team, and I tell that wherever I go. So thank you. Next on the agenda is number 2, legislation before committee 0-49-20, drug loitering free zones, repeal for the purpose of repealing certain provisions of the Annapolis City Code concerning loitering and drug-free zones. We have on here first reader, staff report, and fiscal impact. And I think the staff report from our city manager pretty much says it all. The law office legally advised that no drug loitering free zones be approved or enforced pursuant to City Code Section 11-12.067. Furthermore, they advised that the code section be immediately removed from the city code as unconstitutional and inconsistent with other local and national laws. Ordinance 0-49-20 repeals and removes City Code Section 11.12.067, loitering and drug-free zones. Resolution R-65-20 removes the fines for violations of City Code Section 11.12.067 from the fiscal year 2012 fine schedule. I'm in support of this repeal. Alderman Payon, any response, remarks? You need to take yourself off of mute. Alderman Payon, you're on mute.
I move for a favorable recommendation. This is a no-brainer. It's unconstitutional. We have to get rid of it.
Thank you. Anything from you, Alderman Gay?
Why did they say it's unconstitutional? I mean, I remember growing up.
Appellate court said it.
Kids seeing drug-free signs and stuff. Is that something new or?
No, the appellate court said it a long time ago. It should have been deleted.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, obviously, like you said, let's get rid of it.
Okay. Would you like to second Alderman Payon's
Definitely
motion?
Second.
Absolutely. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. A favorable recommendation will be forwarded to our city council body. Next, added to the agenda is O-19-19, adequate public facilities. This is something that was before our transportation committee at our last meeting. And I know that Alderwoman Tierney, who's the chair of our transportation committee, we had some discussions. I had also forwarded to you all my thoughts when I went through for hours looking at this legislation and trying to piece everything together and figuring out what was going on. We both came to the same conclusion that we need to go back to the drawing board and start all over again. So we recommended in transportation an unfavorable, but I'd like to give Alderwoman Tierney an opportunity to elaborate more on that, please.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. The legislation, as you know, has been here for several months, and the Planning Commission did an extensive review on it, and their remarks were very extensive. And we did recently, the law office did translate those into amendment, but nonetheless, there are other reasons why it needs to go back to the drawing board. The Forest Drive sector study triggered some subgroups, very good subgroups. One of them focused on transportation. The two gentlemen are Peter Bittner and Bill Reinhold, I believe. And there are some new standards for transportation, and this is untimely in that sense. They want to review this with those new standards. And they also want time to review the Planning Commission's comments. So it's sort of a trifecta of reasons that the legislation has to go back, wait for their comments. I offered Peter to come to our next Transportation Committee meeting to discuss their findings, because they're really getting into it. They're very smart about the legislation. And it is a big deal because our transportation mode is in flux right now. So to commit to adequate facilities for any sort of project is sort of a very fluid thing. So I think the only concern I have is I'm not sure how Alderman Arnett feels about it. And I believe he's the initial sponsor of the legislation. But so we postponed action. And we're also recommending that you do the same.
Thank you, Alderman Tierney. Refresh my recollection. I think we had an unfavorable based on going back to the drawing board. Was that what we? That's
what I was looking at. I don't know. I think we did. I just wanted confirmation from Takia. Oh, I'll shut up.
I think we did.
Okay.
I think that's the only conclusion the only action we could take was an unfavorable and base that going on the drawing board. I had asked for this to be placed on public safety because anything to do with transportation, and I got a little bit of I got some feedback, which was very good from Captain Seidel on transportation. I'm not going to get into that right now. But anyway, Alderman Gay has a question.
Yeah, so the unfavorable recommendation was that you guys voted unfavorably to not go back to the drawing board or to go back to the drawing board?
To go back to the drawing board.
Okay. Yeah, I would completely agree. And I'm not on transportation, but it's something that I'm extremely passionate about because I think that public transportation is hand in hand with revitalizing our city and creating a more efficient city. And one of the things is actually over here. I got it somewhere. The City of Annapolis Transit Development Plan. When they did this, I was so happy because I thought that we were on the right path to modernizing transit. And I don't know what happened. It kind of just fell out. I guess we'll have to see. If the committee would look into that, I would appreciate that. But yeah, I would definitely be in support of taking this back to the beginning and seeing what's up with transportation.
I think COVID got in the way of everything, Alderman Gay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Green.
You guys actually didn't recommend unfavorably, you postponed.
Okay, so we
did?
You postponed action.
I think we assumed it would come back to us once it was redone.
Because I don't know how long that postponement's going to hang out there.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Well, it went back to Planning Commission and it just came back and it had its public hearing. So now it's making its rounds back through committee.
Wow.
I mean, just in my estimation, to make it more solid, I would recommend an unfavorable. That way we don't get hung up on time constraints. That's my
Yeah, I think
feeling.
that was our intention. I don't know how it.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you, Alderman Payon or Alderman Gay, as far as giving it an unfavorable today? I don't want to get hung up on time restraints. That's my main. Alderman Payon, you're on mute.
I'll make the motion. I'm not completely clear why we're recommending unfavorably, but heck, even if I had my heart set on voting favorably, obviously I'm going to be outvoted. So I'd move that we do what transportation folks want us to do and recommend an unfavorable disposition.
Second.
Is that a second? Okay. The one thing I had sent around an email about 3 weeks ago, and it was about a page and a half of all the different reasons. It took me hours to get through it. So just retake a look at that again. And it was a lot of things that I shared that I was uncomfortable with. But we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
And since
all right. The ayes have it.
Colleague,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, since my colleague, Alderwoman Pendle Charles, always raises the bar, I attempted to do the same thing. And there's a lot of documentation there to go through. And so we both forward our comments to Sally Nash.
Turn that light on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were on the same track. We were. We saw the same thing. It was problematic at best. So anyway, no disrespect to anyone who prepared it. I think we've moved down the road a bit and we've found out some new things and some other ways to handle it. So I think just starting all over is good. But thank you all so much. We'll move on to our last item on the agenda, which I've titled A Citizen's Public Safety.
Before you move on,
yes,
you need to take a vote.
Oh, I thought we did.
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye for the unfavorable recommendation on 1919. All right. Is that a unanimous vote? All right. Aye. Ms. Green?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to the last item, a citizen's public safety concern, no action to be taken. And I'd ask Alderwoman Tierney to bring this to our attention as just kind of an point of information. Thank you, Alderwoman Tierney, for joining us today.
Sure, I'll try to synthesize all these notes. Just for background, there is at 141 West Street, that's a new condominium development. There is, I think the Brown Mustache owners are going in there and they are developing a coffee shop, but he wants to add on sort of a wine bar, an evening wine bar. So in turn, he needs a liquor license, and that is going to the board. as alderperson, I get that memo and I sent it out to, neighbors and just sort of got a read on this. And I did not get any clear objection. Some constituents said, yeah, we need something in that block or else it will be sort of dead, because we have these chunks of residential now on West Street and we sort of break the pattern, of commercial businesses. So, but there was one individual, a very involved individual. He lives at 141 West Street above the proposed wine bar. And he, to his credit, he did state an objection, and then he did some research. He actually pulled up the Crabble report. I'm not sure if, I think some of you remember that. I don't know if you can see this. Are you reading it backwards like I am? I don't know. Anyways, it's the Citizens Committee to Review Alcoholic Beverage Laws. It was a huge effort to look at the fees, and there was a big crunch of liquor licenses in Ward 1 particularly. They had like 80% of the liquor licenses. I may be mistaken there. And so it came to a head, and this report was done, and there were recommendations. The fees were set. And part of this recommendation was, transparency, more transparency and more reporting, police efforts. And that's what this individual cited from. To read his email that went before the board and then went to my colleague, Alderwoman Pendle Charles, is the Citizens Committee to Review Alcoholic Beverage Laws, Crabble Report 2010, recommended the city exercise the authority to grant licenses, and that the city develop a transparent process that can temporarily set limits on the issuance of any new liquor license, not including renewals or transfer licenses, and that the city restricts the issuance of any additional liquor licenses in the downtown district. That was, in fact, a recommendation 11 years ago. And like we usually do, we get caught flat-footed and say, here we are, we have a lot more, what happened? But the reason why we brought it before, the reason why Alderwoman Pendle Charles and I thought it should come before us is where are we in the police input on these licenses? And is my constituent's concerns valid when he presents this chart of crime that is indicative of liquor licenses? He did contact the police department and worked within his rights, his getting information. And so what he saw was, with 84 liquor licenses downtown, there were 6 drunk driving incidents, 16 disturbing peace, 14 assaults, and he's concerned. So I thought, I guess my first question is how viable is this Crabble report in the police department's review of future alcohol licenses? Do we have a comprehensive review? Do we look at the statistics and say, gee, maybe we should put a hold? So his final recommendation was lastly, I ask that the board, the Alcohol Beverage Board, halt all new ABC applications until after the pandemic and commission a comprehensive study on the impact of the proliferation of alcohol-based businesses in Annapolis to determine if a correlation exists between the increase in ABC licenses and community substance abuse, et cetera, et cetera. So I couldn't ignore it. He does bring up some valid points. However, it is a pandemic and businesses are struggling and they need to be creative. And this one particular business is trying to be creative with a wine bar added to what, his coffee business. So is that a fair summary of what you saw, Alderwoman Pendle Charles?
Yes, it is, Alderwoman Tierney, and just kind of listening to it as you've presented it, I think at this point, this may be a subject matter that needs to be referred to our law office because we're talking about liquor licenses, and through the clerk's office, I know they staff that ABC board. So that's something I think that needs to be addressed starting there. We don't have the police personnel here today for this meeting. And as I indicated several times, we're not taking any action on that. But that was just something that I thought that because it was a public safety issue, it's not legislation or anything in that realm, but that we start with our law office and maybe you and I can submit in an email a request to the law office to get to the ABC, and that's something that they can address. So that's my initial step forward as to resolving this issue that was brought to you and me as it regards to the liquor license and the public safety issue.
I agree. I do want the police, though, some opportunity to say what they are doing, because I know that they are adhering to this report. I know Corporal Amy Muguez asked me for a copy of it like within the last year because they were, that they have gone into bars and they have made some they are going in and enforcing. So they are doing some work. And I just for the record wanted that to be known. And I don't know if they need the opportunity to say that, but you remember they were doing the stations downtown, the breathalyzer, volunteer breathalyzer, and those. So yeah. So
I don't know if our administrator, Ms. McCoy, would like to weigh in on that. I know she's new to the city. I don't want to put her on the spot, but if she has something to add, that would be good. And then we'll go to Alderman Gay for his question.
Just to say, Alderman Tierney, that I will definitely have those statistics at our next public safety meeting and to present them. And before then, I will forward them to your office so you can answer this gentleman.
Okay. Thank you. And as I said, he is the only strong objection to this liquor license, and he's definitely made his position clear. But he deserved to sort of to reinforce his concerns.
Okay, thank you so much, Administrator McCoy. We appreciate that, and we can still contact or send something to our law office jointly, Alderwoman Tierney, if that's something that you would like to do.
Yeah, that's a good idea, as always.
Okay. And we can CC the police department and indicate what they are going to be doing for our next meeting. So this has been very productive. Alderman Gay, do you have a question?
Yeah, just 1 second. Almost needed the fire department. Whew. Choking on a sandwich. Sorry.
That's a late lunch.
I've seen the email, the thread. Yeah, I haven't ate all day. I've seen the email and the thread that was going out. Just quick opinion and observation. I was like, what? Businesses are struggling. They need this. So I fully support this business. I don't know which businesses it is, but I fully support it trying to get his feet under him. Secondly, I'm young. I party downtown often. And what I observe in the downtown scene is that there are typically officers stationed around, usually about 2 in front of Pips and Dock Street, and then 1 at the Circle, right? And so not now, but at some point in the future, because I don't think they are now, is at least what I was told. Businesses, once they get from out of this COVID stink, need to pay for that individual police service, because I think it's a lot to ask officers to be security and patrol. I think for them to respond to a call, yes, but for them to sit out there the whole night, they could be, in neighborhoods and doing other things. So I think there's room all around to use fees like this to support the police department, and to make it easier for them in regards to OT and stuff.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Yeah, Alderman Gay, as you know, I kind of got into this fee thing with Anthony with Galway Bay, and that's where their fee goes. During this Crabble report 11 years ago, the city calculated what do we have downtown to protect, as you say, to post, get our post and this and that, and that does equate into other stuff that equate into these licensing fees. So the fees go into our general fund, yes, and then they're allocated according to whatever. But that's how it works. So ideally, that they should be paid for by these fees, and that's why it's sort of a precarious subject to bring them up, which we're going to do at the Finance Committee. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you so much. One clarification I do want to make. I indicated there will be no action taken on this citizen's concern. I guess I need to clarify that no formal action, meaning this is not part of legislation. So I wanted to make that clear that there will be no formal action taken on this, mainly because it's not a piece of legislation. But I thought it was necessary enough to bring it to our attention. Thank you, Ms. McCoy, for following up on that. And Alderwoman Tierney and I will definitely follow up on our NNCC. Thank you so much. Anything else for the good of the order? Going once, going twice. Alderman Payon, you have your hand raised, and take yourself off of mute. You need to come off of mute, Alderman Payon. Although I know what you're going to say.
I move that we adjourn.
Alderman Gay, can you second that?
Second, yes.
Second. I third it. And all in favor, aye. It is 5:11 p.m.
Oh.
Thank you all so very, very much. Always a great meeting, and I appreciate a real blessing to the city. Thank you, and enjoy your rest of your month.
Thank you.
See you guys.
It's a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.